Shalum, Shalum, and welcome. Welcome to White Roads family. My name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I am compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. This is the 69th installment of White Roads family. The core series playlist, the 69th installment. There are various other playlists, and they are numbered separately, but they too are a part of the White Rose messages. My brothers and sisters, in this segment, I want to talk about choice. End times are here. You may see the background of many of the White Rose family with various colors. Remember, the Almighty Father is the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. It is He who provided the various different colors across the face of the earth. And I have chosen colors in representation of the sequential purposes of the feast times, associating black with instructions that led to life with Passover, and blue, unleavened bread, being able to discern the difference between good and evil. Blue, as akin to His word, which is also sometimes used symbolically as water. Green, as first fruits, as the fruits that come out first, signifying quick responders. Brown, harvest. In most cases, when the fruit is most ripe, is during the browning of the leaves. But more so than just harvest, my brothers and sisters, Passover, instructions to life, unleavened bread, discerning between right and wrong, first fruits, first responders, those who get it quicker than others, harvest as more people are enlightened to what must happen. Trumpets, out of excitement, proclamations and communications, the sounding of the shofar, making a joyful noise, as well as acknowledging the judgment of the Almighty Father. Atonement, where out of the excitement of trumpets we stumble, we fall, because sometimes when you're so excited, we make a mistake. So atonement, reminding us of the blood of the Lamb, that through forgiveness we are covered. We are empowered to raise up anew. And tabernacle, this house, the house of Yahuah. These earthen vessels, our bodies, are a house of the Almighty Father in the name of Yahusha. Yahuah representing spirit everywhere at all times. Yahusha representing the word manifest before us, the sacrifice, the resurrection, and that Yahuah sent His set-apart spirit in Yahusha's name. As it is written in the scriptures. With that said, my brothers and sisters, you may be tired of me talking about that, and you must think more so of the feast times as just coming together and fellowshipping and rejoicing. But I submit to you, when you begin to look at these purposes of the feast times, it brings about a template, so to speak, of how to vet and examine those we come in contact in, as we begin to find Yashar'al gathering together in unity, as we begin to recognize His discipline for those whom He loved, we will see that the purposes of the feast times brings about, understanding those purposes, brings about a dynamic that places us on the same page. I want you to look in the mirror. I want you to look at yourself, whether you're using a cell phone to look at your face, as in a selfie. Look at yourself. Look at the things that are unfolding around you. Look at the things that matter to you and things not so much. Look at the challenges that are ramping up. Look at end times as it begins to unfold. I want you to look at your eating condition, your drinking conditions, your place of safety or refuge. Look at it hard and know this. These things will be shaken. They have begun to be shaken. The question is, are you a leader, a teacher? Then be mindful that you have a responsibility to demonstrate to those whom you lead on how to draw closer to the Almighty Father in Yahusha's name. To ignore Yahusha is to say, well, yeah, I believe in Yahusha and the sacrifice and resurrection and set them to the side. I'm just going to say Yah to be safe, or Yahuah to be safe, or the Almighty Father to be safe. There is no other name which we can be saved. There is no other name which we can come to the Father except by Yahusha. All these other various names that people say and believe, it doesn't really matter how you get the name. Watch. I want you to make the choice of who is providing you with instructions, who is providing and equipping you with the ability to make the right choice for each step that you make going forward. Choice. You see, my brothers and sisters, each and every one of us individually will be held accountable for the things we've done in this life. Before I get more into this, let me read the following. Warning disclaimer. The information contained in White Rose Family represents instructions and warnings to individuals who believe they are drawn by the Almighty Creator Yahuah to Yahusha Mashiach, referencing John 6:44. The content presented centers around end-time realities. Please be advised this site is not intended for children under 16 years of age. To be compliant with various media platforms. By continuing forward, you agree to hold Symmanayah harmless of any influence in or actions that arise as a result of watching, listening, and or reviewing the content presented. The views expressed do not reflect the owners, management, and or shareholders of this media platform. Please note I am not affiliated with anyone or organization with similar names. With that said, my brothers and sisters, let's get into this segment, a segment of choice. The scriptures tell us that no house, no nation can survive if it's divided against itself. The scriptures also inform us that judgment begins at the house of Yahuah first. And saying what I just mentioned, my brothers and sisters, the need for unity is paramount. And believe it or not, the Mashiach, Yahusha, said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men to myself. And I submit to you, we lift up Yahusha in our worship and obedience to the Almighty Father. It is out of obedience to his word that came before us and comes before us that we find ourselves being drawn together, drawn by the power of Yahusha HaMashiach. With that said, in the coming days, with any instructions, with any warnings, vet them, ask questions, examine them to see whether they are indeed from the Spirit of the Almighty Father. For you, yes, you must make a decision. It will be your choice. You see, I use the color blue to think about the word, to think about how his word is symbolic of water, cleanses us, washing us, refining us. And I look at the second feast time, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, as a time of saying, okay, I've given you instruction from life, from Passover. Now you must understand, I will guide you through. My word will direct you and teach you how to discern between good and evil, thus unleavened bread. Judging between right or wrong, discerning the difference between what's wicked and what's set apart. Choice, O Yashar'al. Come with me. Let's examine the following. There are some of you that may kick against the fact that I say that the 7 major feast times bring about purpose. A purpose in the Feast of Unleavened Bread is for us to understand the importance of discerning between right and wrong. Let me read to you Leviticus chapter 23, verse 6 through 8. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 6 through 8. It says, and on the 15th day of this new moon is the festival of Matzah. To Yahuah, 7 days you eat unleavened bread. On the first day you have a set apart gathering. You do no servile work. And you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuah for 7 days. And on the 7th day is a set apart gathering. You do no servile work. You see, my brothers and sisters, we can read about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. But notice it says, on the first day you have a set apart gathering, you do no servile work. The first day, on the 15th day rather, of the new moon festival, 7 days eat unleavened bread. We must ask ourselves, what is unleavened bread? Unleavened bread is bread without any leavening, or bread without any influence that can cause it to rise. So you see, it's more than just about physical bread. It's about influence. He wanted us to go through the practice of not eating unleavened bread, literally. But the purpose is for us to understand there comes a time that we must be mindful of influence. And if you search the scriptures, when it talks about be filled with the Spirit, when it talks about be focused on the Almighty Father, when it talks about praying without ceasing, it's letting Him influence us and coming away from influences of others. Unleavened bread, bread made possible by the Almighty Father, the literal, the spiritual. We will grow to understand by teaching generations to be, as they come into this awakening, as they come off of understanding the Passover, that unleavened bread is about righteous and set apart judgment as led by the Spirit of the Almighty Father. Seek to discern, my brothers and sisters. Notice in the 8th verse of Leviticus 23, he said, you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuah for 7 days. By fire. You see, my brothers and sisters, he just doesn't want anything just thrown at him. Offerings or sacrifices, just anything. Offerings made by fire. There's the literal and there's the spiritual. And remember, Yahuah is a consuming fire. So he who guides us, he who teaches us, he who orders our footsteps, equips us with the fire, the set apart spirit that is a consuming fire. He himself working in us in Yahusha's name to know exactly what influences are from him and which are not. My brothers and sisters, sometimes people will talk about leaven, not realizing that there is good leaven and there's bad leaven. Leaven is influence. Know the different uses of leaven and unleavened. For sometimes people get into conversations and they're not talking apples to apples, or they're not on the same page. One look at leaven in the bad sense, one look at it in the good sense. But in what context are you speaking of? Is it a set apart influence? Then that's good leaven. My brothers and sisters, let me share with you just a couple of examples of what I'm talking about. Matthew 13:33 says, another parable he spoke to them. The reign of the heavens is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal until all was leavened. The woman in 3 measures of meal until all was leavened. Are we not aware that it is written that Yahusha is the bread of life? Are we not aware that upon his physical return, all those that are a part of the bread of life would have been influenced by the set-apart leaven of the Spirit of the Almighty Father? But let us also look at Matthew 16:6 and be mindful of it, O Yashar'al. It says, and Yahusha said to them, mind and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. This is a leaven and influence that is detrimental, that is harmful to us, O Yashar'al. It is important as we begin to understand how much choice plays a part in our day-to-day actions. For there will be decisions that we will make and we will shout, hallelujah! And there will be decisions we will weep and hang our heads down. Some for a moment, some longer. Loving Yahusha is critical when showing our choice. The choice we make requires us to love Yahusha HaMashiach. For it is he who will direct our footsteps. It is he who will work in us, through us, one towards another. It is he who will produce the iron sharpening iron as he worked in us interchangeably. It is he who will prove the life in Ephesians 5:21, which speaks of subjecting yourselves one to another. Yes, the literal is talking about a husband and a wife. But we must go beyond the literal and understand that Yahusha is the husbandman. And we are his assembly. We are his bride. We must love him. My brothers and sisters, believe it or not, it is through the love that Yahusha has for us that we're able to love one another. And this is critical when showing our choice to others. Yashar'al, you might say, I get it. I don't need to listen to any more of this. Consider this. He who has the ability to have much water and endless water, but only settles for a glass or cup or a drop, will face a day of thirst and look for the things to satisfy that thirst. But if you only settle for a glass or a drop and turn your back on the rest, when it's needed, it may be distant from you. It may not be around because you took it for granted. And I say this about teachings. We must learn to endure sound teaching. We must learn to pray and be patient and listen to the words that are being delivered and listen to the words that the Most High has given us to deliver. Loving Yahusha is critical to our choice. Let me share something with you, my brothers and sisters. Because wouldn't you want to say, just as much as you love the Almighty Father, you want others to love him? And if Yahusha is indeed that gateway, if Yahusha, which I believe he is, and Yahusha is the bread of life, which I am compelled to embrace wholeheartedly, I say to you, my brothers and sisters, consider these words. Keep these words in mind as I speak about loving Yahusha. John 21st chapter, verse 15 through 17, it reads as follows. John 21st chapter, verse 15 through 17. When therefore they had eaten breakfast, Yahusha said to Shimon, Kepha, or some will say Simon Peter, son of Jonah, do you love me more than these? And he said to him, yes, master, you know I love you. He said to him, feed my lambs. Some versions will say sheep. I'm in the 21st chapter of John. The next verse, that was the 15th. The 16th verse, he said to him again, a second time, Shimon, son of Yonah, do you love me? He said to him, yes, master, you know that I love you. He said to him, shepherd my sheep. And he goes on in the 17th verse, and he said to him a third time, Shimon, son of Yonah, do you love me? Kepha was sad because he said to him the third time, do you love me? And he said to him, master, you know all. You know that I love you. Yahusha said to him, feed my sheep. My brothers and sisters, 3 times, one of the taught ones, commonly referred to as disciples, as disciple, was asked by the Mashiach himself, do you love me? Do you know that we can only love one another by loving Yahushua Mashiach? It is impossible to say you love anyone if you don't know the Mashiach. The love that brings about life everlasting. Sure, we echo those words, I love you, I love you. Some use it for triggers to manipulate another. But true love, end times require that true love, that dying love, that love that will lay down his or her life for their fellow brother or sister, for their fellow man. Yashar'al, true love, is the love that comes together as iron sharpening iron. True love is the love that has the strength to purge the things that are wicked. True love is the love that has the strength to stand firm on what is living, what is set apart, what is ordered by the Almighty Father, to bind together his set apart members that are of one body. End times regarding choice will prove to identify the need to recognize what influence is directing our footsteps, my brothers and sisters. Choice. In some cases, we will make a choice that we will not be able to take back. There are some cases we will make a choice where we stumble and fall and we get under the blood of the Lamb and ask for forgiveness, yield to repentance and correctness, and rise up anew, strong. Pray and watch, O Yashar'al. The days are before us, but we must begin to understand the importance of choice. Are you being taught? Are you given instructions on how individuals can be able to discern what choice is right for now, tomorrow, going forward? As this pandemic brings about uncertainty, as false prophets, false teachers, as unlearned brothers and sisters, as undiscerning ones among us are void of listening and receiving end-time instructions, each of us that is physically alive still must face the word choice. Yes, each day. Ask yourself, my brothers and sisters, are you satisfied with that moray, that teacher, that pastor, that bishop, that spiritual leader? Are they giving you the instructions that makes you confident that the Spirit of Yahuah is working in you, the one in the mirror, to make the right choice in their absence? What if you, the one in the mirror, is the one that is awakened? What if you are the one whose eyes are made clear to see what is going on and what must be done? What if you are the one whose ears are unclogged and receiving instructions? Can you make the choice that contributes to the building up, the unifying of the body of Yahuah? My brothers and sisters, choice. I cannot stress enough, my brothers and sisters, that settling for compromising teachings and practices is not enough. In the midst of growing uncertainty, we will see challenges. They have begun. But some of the biggest challenges we will face will be centered around fresh water and food. Prepare, O Yashar'al, for in our movement, these are some key things we must consider. Fresh water, food, shelter and safety, the assembly and unity. Choice is a word that when we understand its function, we will recognize that we will and are facing challenges that demand us to choose. And during these challenges, my brothers and sisters, discipline will draw close and ramp up. I have spoken of 1 Peter 4:17, which talks about judgment begins at the house of Yahuah first. Make no mistake, to you, O Yashar'al, soon and very soon, these three factors, fresh water and food, shelter and safety, assembly and unity, will be one of the most coveted and sought after things among man, women, and children. We must understand that the Almighty Father promises discipline to his children. Revelation 3:19, I mention it often, as many as I love, I reprove and discipline, so be ardent and repent. We must begin to understand that in the judgment means discerning between right and wrong, good and evil. And we will learn how to do that, how to keep the scriptures whole, W-H-O-L-E. Hebrews 12:11-14 says, and indeed no discipline seemed pleasant at the time, but grievous. But afterward it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it, and make straight paths for your feet, lest the lame be turned aside, but instead to be healed. Pursue peace with all men and pursue a partners without which no one shall see the master. Discipline is necessary, O Yashar'al, and we who are his children will receive it and will respond. Some discipline unto sickness and in death, or just sickness, some unto death, and some unto restoration under the blood of the Lamb. Physically, giving favor to physically live and walk among others before the world. My brothers and sisters, the Most High promises discipline to those whom he loves. The Most High also promises vengeance. Discern the need to understand vengeance. Discern the need to identify what the face of his discipline is, what the face of his vengeance is. Just as people are calling COVID-19 wicked, the devil, and trying to rebuke it. My brothers and sisters, the Almighty Father gave us power over all diseases. But we must understand things that he ordered is for our discipline. He is ordering famine, pestilence, and disease to humble us, to bring these earthen vessels into physical weakness, to yield to him and cry out to him so that our spirit is made strong, and begin to manage these earthen vessels. And it is at that point, through his word, we are able to control diseases and sicknesses. You see, my brothers and sisters, to rebuke something that he's ordering to bring us in obedience, while at the same time fighting against set apartness, is wrong. Let me say it again. To rebuke what he's ordered, as in famine, pestilence, and disease, to weaken these bodies, to discipline us, that our spirit may rise up strong, that our spirit may be saved. that we may experience everlasting life. To rebuke something he's ordered without yielding to correctness is wrong. And we see clergy, pastors, individuals that's trying to stand up to the discipline of the Almighty Father and dying and dropping dead. O Yashar'al. To the non-set apart person, to the person who is in the outer court, to those who are not a part of the family of set apart Yashar'al. To those who have contributed to the death of the innocent, abortions, killing people and thinking you're getting away with it. From abortions to seniors, to the people who have faced innocent, who are innocent, who have faced death, to the people who are the children of Yahuah, who has faced death. The Almighty Father promises vengeance. Who have been mistreated, the Almighty Father promises vengeance. Luke 21:22 said, because these are the days of vengeance, to fill all that have been written. That was Luke 21:22. Romans 12:19 say, beloved, do not revenge yourselves, but give place to wrath, for it has been written, vengeance is mine, I shall repay, says Yahuwah. It is the Almighty Father that would exact vengeance on the innocent, and soon and very soon, as things become intense, we will understand why. And I believe as the two witnesses begin to emerge, they will call out the blood of the innocent that the world may see it. They will turn rivers to blood, as it is written. And the world will witness the true children of Yahuwah. The world will witness the house of Yahuwah. The world will witness the set-apart family. We shall see him exact the vengeance that is promised. My brothers and sisters, wrath will be widespread destruction, my brothers and sisters. In the vengeance, in the wake following his vengeance, we will see his wrath ramp up. And we must and we will discern the need to understand wrath. We must understand that he reigns on the just and the unjust. But we who are his will never be taken from the hand of Yahusha, from the hand of the Almighty Father. His wrath has begun, O Yashar'al. Isaiah 13:9 says, see, the day of Yahuwah is coming, fierce with wrath and heat of displeasure, to lay the earth waste and destroy its sinners from it. It has begun, O Yashar'al. Let us make sure we have embraced the things that are set apart. Let us make sure that the choice we make is indeed correct. Zephaniah 2:3 says, seek Yahuwah, all you meek ones of the earth, who have done his right rulings. Seek righteousness, seek meekness, if so be that you are hidden in the day of wrath of Yahuwah. My brothers and sisters, choice. Identify set-apart instructions and know that choice is a piece of our life. Making the right choice, choosing when to move, when to be still, when to speak, when to be silent, when to yield and follow, and when to lead. Yashar'al, or Yashar'al, are you satisfied with the instructions and the directions that you're receiving? If not, this is the time to begin to ask yourself, is the Almighty Father using you to correct what is wrong? Or is he telling you it's time for you to step away and let him work with you and open your eyes and develop you? Let him point you to those whom you should lead in or follow. Don't be too comfortable, my brothers and sisters. If a leader, moray, teacher, pastor or bishop is not equipping you and teaching you how to go on and grow on in the event that they die, in the event that it comes a time when it's beyond their ability to discern and recognize that they must yield to another, if they're not teaching you how you should vet and examine yourself and them, if they're not teaching you how to yield when correctness and corrections come to them, if they're not teaching you how to seek forgiveness and get under the blood of the Lamb, if they're not teaching you how to govern yourself in their absence, if they're not demonstrating the very thing that they teach, the time is now to decide what will the outcome be. And if the discipline of the Almighty Father comes, do you want to be in the way? Or do you want to be a part of the solution? Choice, O Yashar'al, choice. The time is now to make wise decisions. Let us continue. Yashar'al, it's time to choose wisely. Uncertainty is growing. Discern how to choose wisely, my brothers and sisters. Consider these words from Proverbs, 4th chapter, verse 20 through 27. They read as follows. My son, listen to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not depart from your eyes. Guard them in the midst of your heart. For they are life to those who find them, and healing to all their flesh. Watch over your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the sources of life. Turn away from you a crooked mouth, and put perverse lips far from you. Let your eyes look forward, your eyelids look straight before you. Consider the path of your feet, and all your ways are established. Do not turn right or left. Turn your foot away from evil. Here, my brothers and sisters, the Most High do not want us caught up into a rule that say always go left or always go right. Do not succumb to what some politicians will say, you to the far left or you to the far right. But focus forward on him. Seek to discern what he is saying, O Yashar'al. Soon and very soon, we will realize the time to come away from compromising situations is a restructuring, is a replacing, it's placement. It's being guided to be in the right position for what is to come. For the 144,000, 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes of Yashar'al will emerge as written in Revelation 7th chapter, and a great multitude will emerge. Whether you're able to see how that will occur or not, it will happen. It will come to be. The things that are causing us to become humble, the things that are weakening us, the challenges that we are facing, the uncertainty that is growing, will yield the obedient of Yahuah who have chosen wisely. And we will witness demonstrations on what we must do and which directions we must go. Keep these words in mind, my brothers and sisters. John 10:27 through 10:30 says, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me, and they shall by no means ever perish, and no one shall snatch them out of my hand. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one. My sheep hear my voice. My brothers and sisters, it's time to face difficult decisions and act. It's time to begin to seek out what the Spirit of Yahushua is saying to us, what the Almighty Father is directing us to do. It's time for us to understand the right choice will make a difference for the one in the mirror. The right choice will make a difference to brothers and sisters. We will be positioned in the right place at the right time to those who are able to discern. Are you his sheep? Are we his sheep? Pray and watch, O Yashar'al, for evidence will emerge. Consider these words. Remember these words, my brothers and sisters. Matthew 24, verse 10 through 13. Matthew 24, verse 10 through 13 says, and then many shall stumble. They shall deliver up one another. They shall hate one another. Many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray. And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. Endurance demands that we make the right choice. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, extreme times reveals that Yahuwah's choice for his children is discipline, improved worship and obedience, growing in maturity, growing together, being fitly joined together in unity. Yahuwah's choice will become evident among us, O Yashar'al. What say you? Watch as these end times prove the need to embrace, to draw close to plans from the Almighty Father that line up with the scriptures as they are made alive. Extreme times reveal Yahuwah's choice for his children includes plans that will fulfill what is described in the scriptures. Yashar'al, prepare to witness clear, set-apart plans in the midst of uncertainty. Ask yourselves again and again, if you are a leader, are you demonstrating how to engage the Almighty Father through Yahusha Mashiach and be obedient to him and execute the plans he's given you? Or identify or clear your eyes, open your ears, open your spirit to discern what he is saying regarding his plans for the gathering of his children? If you are a leader, are you taking these factors into consideration? If you are one following, are you walking in the path of plans that you see work is for the good of set apartness, for the coming together of unity, for the growing in maturity? Or are you circling around like a dog returning to his vomit? Or are you circling around in endless cycles with no growth? Are you following someone who is as a dead man tomb? Or as the Pharisees that look good outside because of the things they're doing in their community, camp, fellowship, or group? They look good, but inwardly, they are cowards. Believe it or not, my brothers and sisters, there are many leaders, some in which you know on YouTube, that don't know what to do. They won't seek to embrace the vetting process, the examining processes necessary. They won't fear Yahuwah to the point that they can receive the knowledge that brings about wisdom and discipline to give to their flock. They're busy allowing people in their community, their group, their fellowship, their household, to lift them up. And they're not saying to you that they don't know. There are many leaders in which the Spirit of Yahuah revealed to me that they are concerned. They're dealing with anxieties because of their inability to yield and discern what the Spirit of Yahuah is saying. And the Spirit of Yahuah showed me that there are others who can discern these leaders who are not as strong as they appear to be. Why? Because they are neglecting, they are distant from hearing what the voice of the Spirit of Yahuah is saying for such a time as this. Seek to identify plans that you can see are taking you in a way which causes growth and maturity, which equips you and prepares you for what is to come and what must be done. And every living individual on this planet will move from their current place, whether it be a movement unto death, sooner for some, later for others, or a movement that will reflect the final exodus, or a movement as in those who will gather to war against the children of Yahuah in the final hours. Yashar'al, prepare to witness clear set-apart plans in the midst of uncertainty. And I present to you, as you vet, consider set-apart plans that contribute towards deliverance, relocation, and lifestyle changes, of which is part of the plan of the Almighty Father. Consider the plans that require some to be included and some to be left behind. Consider the plans of Yahuah to show that there will be elders, shepherds, pastors, bishops, mores, anointed and guided by him, that will be built together, that will demonstrate leadership, proven to be vetted. Consider plans of Yahuah that will guide the development of information and resource centers, virtual and physical, where people can get answers for what must and will come to be. Consider the plan of Yahuah that will consider teens with diverse skills, discipline in knowing when and how to pass on traits and skills, experiences and expertise to the unlearned. Witness the plan of Yahuah, my brothers and sisters. For I believe there will be contributors towards the purchase of land in Virginia, where this will be the exit point for the set-apart nation of Yahuah on the Western Hemisphere that will head back towards the Promised Land, to the focal point that will be the true Mount Sinai, currently known as Jabal, situated in the northwest quadrant of what is now known as Saudi Arabia. Pray and watch, O Yashar'al. There will be a gathering, a mass gathering of millions from various other countries. The children of Yahuah will come. Soon and very soon, there will be powerful proof of chosen messengers directing world leaders to release and let the people of Yahuah go. Watch, O Yashar'al, as his wrath, as his vengeance ramp up. Watch as we receive discipline to improve our walk. Identify plans that talk about specific, safe, and support zones as we journey towards the Promised Land. Consider plans for providing guidance and support for completing that journey. Guidance and support for the inner court life, the life of set-apartness, how we are to teach, learn, walk, and demonstrate the ways of the Almighty Father. Choice. We are able to understand how to make the right choice by the leading of the Spirit of Yahuah, by his words. We will grow to know how we are to govern ourselves as we find ourselves waiting for Yahusha HaMashiach's return. And like with all plans, my brothers and sisters, there are costs. Costs associated with all plans. Whether that cost is sacrifice of physical actions, whether cost is a cost of resources, sacrificing resources, giving resources, managing resources, supplies, costs. Count the cost, my brothers and sisters. Each of us have received favor from the Almighty Father. Each of us have received some skill set, some knowledge, some discipline that the Almighty Father has given us for the building up of the set-apart family of Yahuah. Make it known, O Yashar'al, that we may be fitly joined together in unity. And if you are one who would like to contribute financially to the plan in which I shared with you some bullets, some highlights, I set up Cash App, White Rose Family. No amount is too small. But more than anything, my brothers and sisters, if I am presenting anything that draws you closer to the Almighty Father, consider subscribing and sharing. Walk with me as I follow the guidance of the Spirit of Yahusha. Let us come together. Let us ask questions. Let us vet one another. Let us search the scriptures. Let us be as iron sharpen iron. It will come to be for those who must fulfill the 144,000 in great multitude mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter. It will happen. Email me, O Yashar'al. Let us begin to connect. Email me at Symmanayah@Watchman.net. The email is on the screen. And remember Matthew 25:14-30. There are those who use talents and they draw and bear much more fruit, much more set-apart actions. And there are those who lose the very thing that they have. Pray and watch, O Yashar'al. End times are here. I conclude by saying to you, O Yashar'al, choice. Choice is a powerful word. And on the other side of choice will rise the benefit or the consequence of that decision we made. Of the choices we embrace, the world will see the fruit of such decisions. And the choices that we make that are incorrect are wrong. To those who understand how to seek forgiveness, to those who understand how to get under the blood of the Lamb, to those who recognize the function of the atoning blood of Yahusha Mashiach, we will rise up upon repenting and yielding to reproof. We will rise up renewed in the power and might of set apartness. Believe me, O Yashar'al, there are no physical life rewind buttons. Though technology have a rewind buttons, the choice we make today, the choices we make tomorrow, we cannot step and walk them back. At best, we can do, if they are wrong, is seek forgiveness and rise up and seek to not return to that same situation or circumstance. Choice, O Yashar'al. In a word, choice can make or break what happens in the coming of days. On that note, I say to you, I salute your patience, your tolerance, your desire to pursue set apartness, your love for Yahusha Mashiach, your love for me, my love for you, the love we will witness that will bind together and bring together an emerging set-apart awakening nation. To you, O Yashar'al, I salute you, and I say to you, Shalum.